The sound of cold rain beating against the pavement mingled with Rachel Anderson's footsteps. Usually it took 15 minutes to walk to the Newton Wellesley Hospital clinic today. She had given her umbrella to a man without one and was hurrying along in the rain. "You're soaking wet." Christine, who had been at the clinic's reception for 6 years, laughed as she handed Rachel a towel. Rachel's day always began with their morning greetings at the reception desk. "Yes, but someone needed the umbrella more than I did. You never changed, do you?" As Rachel dried her wet hair, she recalled the morning's events after dropping off her 5-year-old daughter Lily at daycare. Her husband Tom had sent a message saying, "I'll be late again today." The overtime had been increasing lately. He said he'd been assigned a new project as a middle manager at his company, but it's all for the family. Telling herself this, Rachel began organizing patient records outside the window. The rain had stopped and sunlight was beginning to shine through at 3:00 p.m. It was time to pick up Lily from daycare when Rachel arrived at the First Baptist Church of Newton's daycare center. Lily was happily folding origami with Jessica, the new teacher. "Mommy, look at this beautiful butterfly." "Oh, how lovely." Jessica gave Rachel a gentle nod with a peaceful smile. She appeared to be in her late 20s, a young teacher with a modest demeanor. Since joining 2 years ago, she had become popular with the children. "Mrs. Anderson, Lily is very good at origami." "Thank you. She often plays with origami at home too." As they conversed, Rachel sensed something shadowy in Jessica's expression, or was just her imagination. On Sunday, dinner was held at Patricia's house as usual. It was a stately 2-story White House in Newton's quiet residential area with a pool hidden from street view and a well-maintained garden blooming with flowers in the backyard. "Rachel, dear, in that outfit." As soon as they entered, Patricia's eyes fixed on Rachel's casual you-all dress. "Isn't this just a regular dinner?" "Well, yes, but members of the First Baptist Church Women's Group are coming too." Tom silently stared at his smartphone. Lately, he'd been having fewer conversations with his family. "Lily, what is that hair clip?" Patricia's stern gaze now turned to her granddaughter, pointing at the butterfly-shaped clip Rachel had put in her hair that morning. "Isn't it cute? It matches Jessica teachers." The moment those words were spoken, Patricia's expression hardened. Tom looked up from his smartphone, his face changing for just a moment before quickly forcing a smile. "Well, let's eat." Patricia quickly changed the subject. The table was set with her usual elaborate dinner: roast beef gratin and seasonal salad. But tonight, there was an unusually heavy atmosphere around the dining table. "Tom, how's work going lately?" "Well, busy with the new project." Patricia nodded with satisfaction. Actually, Tom's job had come through Patricia's connection. "Lily, I've prepared a special dress for you to wear to next week's church summer festival." "Yay." Rachel felt uneasy about Patricia's words. Her mother-in-law usually didn't announce gifts for Lily in advance. It felt almost like she was setting something up. As they leaving after dinner, Patricia stopped Rachel. "Rachel, are you truly happy? What with this family, with this life?" There was something ominous in that question. Rachel struggled to answer. "True, the family dynamics have been changing lately, but of course, I am." That was all Rachel could say. However, from that day forward, invisible cracks began to appear in her peaceful daily life. No one could have predicted what would happen at next week's summer festival. On a summer evening, the bells of First Baptist Church rang out across Newton. Rachel looked up at the orange-tinted sky from the clinic window. "Mrs. Anderson, here are the records for the last patient." While reviewing the documents handed to her by a colleague, Rachel checked a message from Tom. "Another overtime notice. Working late again." The message was true. Tom's messages had become increasingly brief lately. When Rachel went to pick up Lily from daycare, Jessica was waiting for her, seeming somewhat unsettled. "Mrs. Anderson, I need to talk to you about something." Just then, Jessica, Tom's voice rang out. Why was her husband here when he was supposed to be working overtime? "Oh, Tom, you're early." Rachel's question clearly flustered Tom. "Yes, the project meeting ended early. I thought I'd pick up Lily." Jessica silently watched their exchange, her eyes suggesting she had something to say. "I'll tell you another time," she said hurriedly before disappearing into the daycare building. That evening in the living room, after Lily had gone to bed, Rachel found herself thinking about Tom's recent behavior, the increase in overtime, never letting go of his phone, less time with family, and today's incident at daycare. "I'm overthinking this," she whispered to herself. However, the events at Patricia's house the following Sunday would transform these anxieties into certainty. "Lily, what are you wearing?" Patricia's tone was harsher than usual. Lily was wearing a dress she said Jessica had given her. "Isn't it pretty, Jessica?" "Teacher, enough about Jessica." "Teacher." Patricia's voice trembled. Tom stood up and walked out to the garden. "Mother, what's wrong?" When Rachel asked, Patricia heaved a deep sigh. "Young women these days are so presumptuous. Barge into other people's families." Rachel felt unsettled by those words. Why would Patricia become so upset at the mention of Jessica's name on the drive home? Lily said in a small voice, "Mommy, Grandma scared me." "Why?" "Because she got really angry when I talked about Jessica." Teacher. Rachel caught a glimpse of Tom's expression in the rear-view mirror. Her husband gripped the steering wheel tightly, as if pretending not to hear. The next day, Rachel attended a parents' meeting at the daycare there. She overheard rumors about Jessica's 2-year-old son. "Nobody knows who the father is, but I heard she lived in Newton even before she came to this daycare. Maybe she got close to someone in the church's young adult group." The mother's gossip pierced Rachel's heart. Jessica's 2-year-old son, 2 years. Tom's behavior had started changing about 2 years ago, and Patricia's extreme reaction, "I'm overthinking," she repeated to herself, but the dots were connected one by one that night. Tom's phone rang. Rachel clearly saw Jessica displayed on the screen. Tom hastily stood up and left the room. Meanwhile, Rachel received a message from Patricia. "Tomorrow is the church summer festival. Bring Lily. We need to have an important talk." Rachel exhaled deeply. Before responding, all the previous unease, anxiety, and doubt seemed to be converging toward tomorrow. Outside the window, the summer night wind rustled through the trees. A siren wailed from the direction of Newton Wellesley Hospital, as if forecasting tomorrow's events at the First Baptist Church Summer Festival. The sweet aroma of rasped corn wafted through the fresh breeze from the stand set up in Cold Spring Park church community. Members were gradually gathering in the park. As dusk approached, "Mommy, I want that cotton candy." Rachel smiled at Lily's innocent voice. Tom wasn't attending, citing work reasons. These past few days, conversations with her husband had become even more sparse. Rachel, she turned to find Patricia, calling out to her, more meticulously made up than usual. She exuded the dignity of the First Baptist Church Women's Group chairwoman. "Lily, I brought the dress I promised you." In her hands was a new dress, an elegant piece with pale blue lace. "But she's already dressed. Change her into this now." Patricia's voice grew stern as Rachel started to refuse. She noticed a familiar figure at the park entrance. It was Jessica, and she was holding the hand of a boy who looked about 2 years old. "Oh, Jessica, teacher." As Lily tried to wave no, Patricia grabbed Lily's hand forcefully. "Stop it, you're hurting Lily." Rachel tried to intervene, but Patricia was clearly not herself. Her face was pale, her hands trembling uncontrollably. "This child," Patricia's eyes were fixed, "this child doesn't deserve to be here." A sudden scream. Patricia dragged Lily toward the fountain. "Stop!" Ignoring Rachel's protests, Patricia tried to push Lily's head toward the fountain. Screams erupted from the crowd. "Help somebody!" Rachel desperately pulled Lily toward her, finally managing to break Patricia's grip. She embraced her daughter. "Lily, are you all right?" Lily was soaking wet, and her tiny body was shaking. "Mommy, I was scared," through trembling lips shocking words tumbled out. "Grandma said I'm not supposed to talk about Daddy and Jessica, teacher's baby." Rachel felt the blood drain from her face. The surrounding commotion seemed to fade away. "What did you say?" Patricia had collapsed onto the ground, covering her face with her hands, her shoulders shaking. Jessica rushed over, clutching her son. Her expression was desperate. "Mrs. Anderson, please, let me explain." Rachel looked at Jessica's son's face, the familiar features, eyes that resembled Tong's festival music played through the park speakers, the bustle of food stands, children's laughter, but around the fountain an eerie silence prevailed. "Rachel, I'll explain everything," Patricia said in a strained voice. 30 years ago, I made the same mistake." The evening sky turned red. The fountain splashing seemed to mark time passing. Long shadows stretched across Newton. One truth was revealed and another dark secret emerged. The family secret that no one knew was about to be exposed here in front of this small fountain. Jessica's 2-year-old son, Patricia's mistake from 30 years ago, and the truth about Tom's birth. Everything was connecting in Newton's warm summer twilight. A family's hidden history was quietly but surely coming to light. The fluorescent lights in Newton Wellesley Hospital's waiting room cast a cold glow. Rachel sat motionless, holding Lily in her wet dress. "I brought you a blanket." An older nurse spoke kindly. She was a colleague from the clinic. Rachel silently nodded. Her phone screen showed a string of missed calls from Tom, but Rachel had no strength left to respond. "Mommy, I want to go home." Lily's voice brought Rachel back to reality. During the taxi ride home, Lily clung to her mother in the back seat, trembling slightly. At midnight, the sound of the front door opening echoed through the house. "Rachel." Tom's voice. Rachel watched her husband from the darkness of the living room. "Working late?" "Yes, project deadline." "Were you really at the office?" Tom stopped at Rachel's cold voice. "What do you mean, weren't you at Jessica's house?" Silence filled the room. The next morning, Rachel didn't send Lily to daycare. Her daughter was still sleeping. Exhausted, opening her computer, she accessed the hospital database. It might be an ethics violation, but there was no turning back. She typed Jessica into the search field. Obstetric records, 2 years ago, male birth. Just as I thought. With trembling hands, she opened Tom's credit card statements. There were regular payments to a luxury hotel near the street, Chestnut Hill, rent payments for an apartment in Newton Center, baby supplies purchased at Whole Foods Market, Newton, all concentrated near Jessica's address. Her steps felt heavy as she headed to First Baptist Church. Sunday service time. Patricia would surely be there. Rachel, when she found Patricia in the prayer room, her mother-in-law was already in tears. "You knew." "Yes, but I wanted to protect them, this family. Tom and my own sin." Patricia's confession quietly began. 30 years ago, Patricia had an affair. The result was Tom. "I never could tell my husband. He died believing Tom was his. And Tom, yes, my son, the result of my sin, yet I kept demanding perfection from him." Light through the church's stained glass fell between them. That night, when Tom came home, Rachel was waiting with his credit card statements. "Explain, Rachel, what did Lily mean about a baby?" Tom's cornered expression crumbled. "My relationship with Jessica started 2 years ago. Why, I don't know. Work stress, Or maybe mother's expectations, a fragmented confession, the existence of a 2-year-old son's secret financial support plans for a settlement to cover everything up. Mother knew everything. That's why she was afraid Lily might say something. Yes, but it has to end now. Tom's voice shook. I meant to tell you, but every day I kept putting it off, and that's how our family fell apart. Rachel stood up and walked to the window. Newton's night view reminded her of happier days. We can't go back, Rachel. Let's get divorced. Those words froze the air in the room upstairs. STS Lily was sleeping. Her life would change tomorrow too, but having the courage to face the truth would be better for their daughter than living in a family built on lies. In Newton's night sky, airplane lights streamed past, as if guiding Rachel and Lily toward their new life. The old clock at First Baptist Church struck noon. As bells rang across Newton, Patricia sat alone on a pew in the prayer room. I'll tell you everything. Patricia's voice had lost its former authority before Rachel. She began unraveling memories from 30 years ago. I was expected to be the perfect wife and mother, as a prominent figure in Newton, as chair of the church women's group. But beneath that mask, in the hot summer of 1994, Patricia had an affair with a young church pastor. Tom was the result. I could never tell my husband the truth. He died believing Tom was his child. Patricia's hands trembled. And Tom, though he was the result of my sin, I kept demanding perfection from him. Rachel listened silently. All the pieces were now connecting. When Jessica became pregnant, I saw my own mistake, and I desperately tried to protect this secret. Silence enveloped them. Looking back, they saw Tom standing there. He had heard everything. I always wanted to know who my real father was. Tom, I even had a DNA test done, but I never had the courage to look at the results. Tom held out an envelope. The unopened DNA test results were inside. Open. At Rachel's words, Tom opened the envelope with trembling hands. The results confirmed Patricia's confession. How could I judge Jessica when I'm like this? Mother. Tears flowed from Tom's eyes. The suppressed emotions of a 49-year-old man who had never known the truth about his birth came pouring out. I almost made Jessica's child go through the same thing at Newton Wellesley Hospital's cafeteria. Jessica began telling everything, meeting Tom in the church's young adult group 2 years ago, their relationship, the unexpected pregnancy, and Patricia's pressure. And hush money, I don't want to lie anymore. There was determination in Jessica's eyes. I'm leaving Newton. I'll raise my son in Chicago when my parents live. Tom quietly nodded at those words. I'll pay child support, and someday I'll tell my son the whole truth. Rachel was packing the last of their belongings at their Newton Center home. Mommy, what's our new home like? Lily asked anxiously. It's where Mommy used to live when she was little. There's a park and lots of friends waiting. Isn't Daddy coming? Rachel stopped packing and hugged Lily. Daddy's staying here, but he'll come visit us, and someday you might meet your little brother too. Lily nodded silently, with understanding beyond her 5 years. She was trying to accept the situation at the fountain in Cold Spring Park the day before departure. Rachel visited alone. Who would have thought that day's events would lead to this? The fountain water sparkled in the sunset. Patricia had begun receiving counseling from a specialist. Tom was trying to navigate a new relationship with Jessica, and Rachel was about to start a new life with Lily at Logan International Airport. Tom saw Rachel and Lily off at the boarding gate. Be happy there. Thank you. And you face your true self. A final embrace. Lily clung to Tom. Daddy will see you again, right? Of course. I'll definitely come visit. The plane began rolling down the runway. Newton's cityscape grew smaller through the window. First Baptist Church's spire, Cold Spring Park's greenery, and that fountain. Everything receded into the distance. Rachel squeezed Lily's hand. This wasn't an ending, it was a new beginning. The plane took off toward the morning sun, as if illuminating the new dawn from mother and daughter from above.